for joining. My name is Dharmendra Ahuja, and I am a DevOps lead within IBM. Today we are going to talk about ethical AI deployment at scale, and we are going to discuss about the platform engineering approaches. So today we are going to dive into one of the most critical challenges in modern tech, which is ethical AI deployment at scale. This is not just a theoretical discussion, it is like a hard engineering problem which we are facing every day. And the key to solving this problem is it lies with us, like platform engineers. So over the few minutes, we will move from understanding the core dilemma we are facing to the tangible ROI of solving it, and finally, we will talk about like a practical blueprint for building ethical safeguards, which is directly into the fabric of our AI platforms. So let's get started. So today we are seeing is 83% of enterprise accelerate AI integration, and platform team are facing more lot of pressure to deploy AI responsibly and maintaining the velocity as well. So this session reveals how we're embedding like ethical AI safeguards into the deployment process, and so that we can create the pipeline faster and most reliably, and so that AI systems, so that we can earn the stakeholder trust, right? So now we have a platform engineer dilemma, right? The dilemma we all recognize, like we are caught between the two powerful challenges, which seems to be like opposing forces, right? On the one hand, we are facing like the velocity pressure, and so that we need to ship the product faster and support more models. And on the other hand, we have a non-negotiable mandate for responsible AI. So we must embed like a fairness, avoid biases, and protect the privacy as well, and also ensuring the compliance, right? So the consequences of getting things wrong are severe, and like a reputational damage is there, and there are regulatory fines, and also a total loss of user trust if things go wrong. So the old mantra used to be like we can go fast and break things, but in today's world, breaking people. So the challenge here is like how do we maintain a balance between breakneck speed without breaking our commitments. So now we are going to talk about the ROI of ethical AI platforms. The good news is that it is not just a cost center. Ethical AI platforms, building these platforms deliver like a massive and measurable return on investment. So think about it like what happens when you automate ethical checks. First, you accelerate the velocity. That is the benefit we get. And like by catching issues early in the pipeline, we avoid the massive delays, and also we avoid the rework required when problems are found late in the production. So it leads to like improvement in the deployment efficiency. So we see 26% improvement in deployment efficiency, right? And the second one is like we are de-risking the deployment. So automated testing is leading to 89% detection rate for bias issues pre-production, and 84% enhancement at compliance. So that is a big achievement. This is not just about avoiding fines, it is more about getting more user trust. And this trust translate into adoption, right? So as we can see, like organizations are like there's a net 2% increase in sustainable AI adoption these days. And because developers are trusting the platform and end user is trusting the output. So this is how ethics becomes, right, a competitive advantage, not a bottleneck. So that's why it is important that we integrate ethics into the picture. So now we will talk about automated ethical testing in the next slide in the pipelines. So how do we achieve it? It starts by shifting left. Ethical testing must be automated and integrated into the pipelines. This means treating an ethical failure as like a build failure or a unit test failure. So as soon as a model is committed, the pipeline should be automatically run it against the battery of test. And we should check for statistical parity differences and equal opportunity, and also using tools like AI Fairness 360 or FairLearn. We can achieve that. And the key here is the process should be automate and mandatory. It is like a quality gate. If the model does not pass this gate and the bias check, the build should fail automatically. And this moves ethical validation from manual to automated validation, and so that we can automate this week-long processes, and we can also reduce validation cycle by 55%. Oh, so like close to 56%, and 91% rapid issues and it all mitigation effectiveness also. And this is the foundation here, and making like ethics as like a non-negotiable part of the definition of done. So now we will talking about the platform native ethical frameworks. If we talk about the tools, so tools are not just enough, right? We need to build a like a platform framework, which means like a baking ethics into the infrastructure we provide. So we need to bake ethical frameworks into it. So instead of asking every development team to figure out on their own, if the platform team provides like a curated, pre-approved ethical tooling as a service we offer. So what we can do is we can recognize model cards, which will auto-populate the fairness metrics, right? Second one we can do is we can pre-build compliance data pipelines with the anonymization built in, right? Third one is we can provide the approved libraries for bias mitigation, right? So provide by providing these services like these as like a managed services, we ensure like a consistency into the product and we reduce the cognitive load for product teams. And also we guarantee every model deployed into our platform meets like a baseline ethical standard by default. So we make the right way and we make the things right way and in the easy way. Now we are going to talk about the case study for a healthcare AI platform. So let's make like a concrete healthcare study discussion. So the stake here could not be higher. We are dealing with a lot of patients data and health data. So the platform team implemented these. One of the platform team implemented these exact principles which we just talked about, and they embed like a ethical testing for bias in diagnostic models, and build the privacy preserving data workflows directly into the platform, and it gives 67% reduction in the privacy incidents, and it gives like a 79% increase in clinical trust and 92% sustainable AI adoption and 74% fewer bias concern, which is a big achievement. Now, so the doctor could focus on a patient care because they trusted the platform more, and it ensured that the model was fair and the data was safe, right? So now we are going to talk about the cloud scale ethical monitoring. By implementing monitoring in place, it helps a lot. So deployment is not just about finishing the line, right? It is more about how model can degrade in the real world through model drift and data drift, right? So what was fair yesterday might not be fair today. This is where cloud scale ethical monitoring helps. So we need to monitor pipelines. So we need to monitor predictions in the real time, and like by monitoring like real time events which are being processed like thousands of events per second, right? And checking for drift and violations against our ethical baselines. So we should be monitoring all of these, and for that we need a dedicated monitoring stack. So perhaps using tools like Fiddler or Salden Core, which like the we can achieve the great outcomes. Like the outcome is to detect 91% violations we can detect, and it will improve the response time. Like we can increase, like you can get a 78% faster incident response time with the help of this. So like automated alerting and remediation workflows engage the right teams immediately whenever the potential issues arise. So now a critical question is like who decide what is fair, right? So it cannot be like an emerging decision made in a vacuum. Like who decide what is fair? This is where the cross-functional governance is very much essential. We need to build a like a lightweight council with legal, compliance, ethics, and business, right? With the business representatives. The job here is to define what are the fairness thresholds, what is our definition of bias. So our job as a platform engineer is to encode that into the policy as a code, and so that we can turn their human decisions into automated gates in our pipeline. Like that's why we're saying like policy as a code, and and this kind of collaboration which will make the system more scalable and legitimate. And it is why organization using this model report are getting 75% better project success rate and 91% effectiveness in the mitigating. So now it is very important like we build our ethical AI platform So how do we do that, right? So for that, we need to define the platform requirements. We need to integrate ethics into the CI/CD pipelines, and then we have to develop operation monitoring, right? So first, we need to pick one high visibility model and audit it and create audit it for a single metric like gender bias, and then tool up like experiment with then we do experiment with one open source framework and run it manually or model and see what it finds. Then we can third integrate it like and add like a single ethical test for a non-blocking check into our pipeline and let developers see the report. And then fourth, like we can mandate, like we can graduate the test, like a blocking it for our critical applications, right? And then we can add more tests into it, and then we can develop operational monitoring into it and formalize our governance council, which is not a journey. It is like a journey, not a one stop, like on a flip you switch the project, right? So it takes time to develop the monitoring in place. So the key takeaway here is embed ethical AI into it, don't append. So ethical AI guardrails should be more infrastructure components or not. It should not be an afterthought or add on to an existing platform. And or we should automate the validation, building automated ethical AI testing, like ethical testing into CI/CD pipelines to catch issues early without slowing deployment. And that is like govern through platform. So implement like a platform native governance, which is scales with our AI initiatives and evolves through like with the regulatory requirements. So when it is done right, the ethical AI framework don't slow the deployment. It accelerates the sustainable AI adoption by building confidence into the system and increasing the user trust. So thank you for attending, and please let me know if you have any questions.